I'd be lying if I said I'm sorry for that dwa, but let's get over that. Hi guys, I'm Mogani. Welcome back to Scientific Motoring. Today I have a special episode for you because we are at the Audi Centre in Sandton having a look at this Audi RS3. Now, if you know your cars, you'll know that Audi just released a facelift of the Audi RS3, and I use the term facelift relatively loosely because not too much has changed. Besides the front grille, the rear bumper, and a few interior components, there isn't too much that you can say justifies the cost of what I've seen can get up to 1.7 million rands. Now, I know that cost is subjective, and what's affordable for me might not be affordable for the next person, but it does beg the question, can you get better value for money in the second-hand markets? And that's what we're here to find out. Please do me a favor, if you haven't subscribed already, subscribe, hit that like, share it with a friend, leave a comment, please, we're begging you. That's how we get cool cars like this. Now, we're starting with the engine open for this review because it needs to be said. The engine behind me is Audi's 2.5-litre turbocharged inline 5, and it's won International Engine of the Year over 9 times. That says something, and it is the heartbeat that has kept the Audi RS3 nomenclature alive for so long. Power in the new car remains the same as it does in this car. 295 kilowatts, 500 Newton meters of torque, and it does 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 3.8 seconds. Don't tell anyone. I've got it down to 3.6 in a Tango Red example that we drove winter of last year. Oh my God. Best birthday gift ever. I love you, Audi Centre Sandton. But now we've gotten into the engine, we've gotten into the power. Even though the power and torque figures remain the same, the facelifted Audi RS3 managed to get around the Nürburgring a whopping 6 seconds faster than its competition, which is the BMW M2. If you want to see the video to that BMW M2, oh my God. Do me a favor, click the link on your screen above or just scan the QR code which we're going to show you, or check the description below. It was an incredible car. And when I drove it, I thought to myself, geez, this is probably the most fun I've ever had with my pants on. And the Audi RS3 competes against that. And here's the thing it does better. It has a quattro system. And if you know nothing about cars, quattro is Audi's all-wheel drive system. It ultimately means that 295 kilowatts and that 500 Newton meters of torque powers all 4 wheels. And here's the thing Audi RS has done, which is quite impressive. They've managed to engineer fun. So 4-wheel drive systems are notorious for being unable to do all the fun stuff like drifting and sliding and that sort of stuff. So what Audi have done is they've taken a torque splitter and they've mated it right here on this rear axle, which allows power to go through either one wheel or both, depending on the scenario and depending on the modes that you've got in the car. This allows you to actually send the car into the drift by powering one wheel instead of just the two. It's pretty cool stuff, and it's unfortunate that we can't do this on the YouTube channel because this car is for sale and we have to respect it for the next client. But let's get into the nicer stuff. Now, with 14,500 kilometers on the clock, this model is retailing for 1.3 million rand. And you're thinking, oh geez, 1.3 million rand for a used car? Let me tell you, it has over 300,000 rand in optional extras, starting with this Merlin purple paint. First words that come to mind, sex appeal. I don't know if I can say that on the channel, but I think there's a very real reason why South Africans love hot hatches. We can relate to them more than we can the performance SUVs and the Ferraris as well. But make no mistake, this is a beautiful car. It's got a lot of aggressive styling. I like the honeycomb grille in the front over here. This is something that's familiar. You've seen it before. And have a look at these matrix LED headlights. They actually do a song and dance when you turn them on. I think that's so cool. And if you come over here to the side, you'll notice that the front wheel arches are a bit more flared than the rear one. And I think that just gives the front end of this car a whole lot more presence. Usually I wouldn't like the chrome, but I appreciate the fact that they did this. It gives something to contrast against this purple paint over here. You get 19-inch wheels over here, some matrix LED taillights. You also get a carbon pack, which gives you carbon fiber spoiler as well as carbon fiber mirror covers. And if you come over here, you'll notice Audi RS DNA in those tailpipes. If you've seen the video of the Audi RS Q8 that we shot recently at this very dealership, if you haven't, put your foot down there. Oh, there we go. There we go. Just like that. Check it out in the description or click the link that pops up here. You'll notice that that had similar taillights, and that's just Audi's design DNA coming through and through. Overall, I think what you get is a very beautiful, aggressive looking, comprehensive package that's able to stick out when you park it next to an A3 40 TFSI, 35 TFSI. There's no mistaking this for a car that it isn't. And I mean, listen, as it's standing, I quite appreciate it. I'm not sure though, what do you guys think looks better? this RS3 or the red BMW M2 that we drove on the channel? Let us know in the comment section. I want to drive this thing. Now, something that the interior of the Audi RS3 does very well is that although it's a very lovely place to be, it's quite understated. It's not too shouty and it tries not to get in the way, which is a good thing because in this renaissance of screens that we're in, and I've said this before, I'm not the biggest fan of these huge digital clusters. I appreciate some ease and simplicity of use. In front of me, I've got this very lovely Alcantara steering wheel with a flat bottom steering wheel. Now, this is something that Audi RS Performance has been doing for some time. And I mean, the feel of it is just actually so lovely. It's just a paint to keep clean. So do yourself a favor, keep it clean before it gets dirty. That way it looks better over time. I do have a digital cluster over here, which has all my important driving information from rev counter to speed, as well as some notifications that the car sends me. But it is configurable. Depending on the engine mode that I'm in, I get different dials. And in a sportier setting, I don't get round dials. I actually get ones that move parallel to one another, forward and back. It's a nice little trick, and I think that's what I appreciate about digital clusters, although at the end of the day, I still prefer my needles. Moving over to the side over here, you have a digital infotainment system. You've got Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and this is where you control your car's settings. You can also get your car's drive select put together over here. I've currently got it in efficiency. You can move it through comfort, auto dynamic, as well as RS individual and RS performance. And one thing I like about this car is that it has adaptive suspension system, which then allows you to sort of get the best of both worlds, being in comfort as well as in your sportier settings. And have a look at this. This is your climate control functionality. Usually that's put away in a submenu of a submenu, but I appreciate that Audi just lets you click a button and that's how you turn it on over here. You've got a few more buttons over here for your autonomous driving. I've got self-parking capabilities. This is how I turn my sensors on and off. It's got a start-stop feature as well as the drive select functionality. And that's pretty much it as far as the screens go. You'll know that in the RS Q8 that we shot, it had two screens, one up top and one at the bottom specifically for your climate control and massage seats and that sort of stuff. Also, here in the center cockpit, not too much is going on. I've just got my start-stop engine button, my gear selector, which keeps getting smaller. If you've seen the new one, we'll overlay that footage over here. It's even tinier than this one. At this point, you're going to be telepathically deciding what gear you're in, but I don't mind it in any case. Then you've got your volume control holder over there. Two cup holders, some red contrast lining over here in your air conditioning vest, a traditional glove compartment. In the Volvo EX90 that we shot not too long ago, that was electronic. I don't get why manufacturers sometimes over-engineer very simple things. So I love that. That is a normal thing with some piano black trim, which can get fingerprints and scratches if you're not careful. So keep an eye out for that. I also have a sunroof up above me over here with some tilt and slide functionality. And that's pretty much it. I should mention that in this car, you get a Bang & Olufsen sound system, which sounds incredibly great. In the new Audi RS3, some of those models come with a Sonos sound system. I'm not sure why they did that because B&O sounds are really, really great. But that's pretty much it as far as the interior of the RS3 is concerned. Simple, efficient, very German. Yes, does the job. Let's get driving. So we've just left the fuel station, which isn't something that should surprise you in an Audi RS3. Lots of power means lots of consumption, but if you can manage your right foot well, you should do just fine. We're currently in the Sandton Cramerville Design and Furniture District, and this car fits in so well. I've got it in its most comfortable setting. I've got it in eco mode, and the suspension is also in its most comfortable mode as well. And I mean, in these type of situations, you can feel that at the end of the day, you're in an RS car because this is a sports car. But it's not so jarring that it takes away from the driving experience and takes away from the comfort in and of itself. The suspension is a little bit on the stiffer side compared to a normal A3, but that is a compromise you have to make when you get performance vehicles. And I think the kind of person who's buying this car doesn't mind. A few things stick out. One, even in its most comfortable setting, while you're driving as slow as you possibly can, you get this very lovely rumble from that inline 5 engine. I get why it's won Engine of the Year internationally so many times. It's such a lovely soundtrack to go to. It actually sounds like a smaller V10 more than anything. And I love the fact that these roads are so bad because it gives you a general idea of what driving around in this car is going to be like. I could do hundreds of kilometers and I would not get tired in this. The steering wheel feels very light. You can move it around relatively easily. You sort of get an idea of where the front wheels are, but to be quite honest with you, I think maybe in the sportier settings, you'll get a bit more feedback. But what I do appreciate is it doesn't matter how fast you're going, this car inspires confidence. And that's just because of the quattro all-wheel drive system. You could sling this thing into a curve and it'll take it like breakfast and nobody will be any wiser. But because it's an Audi RS3, it definitely has some character traits that make it a bit more special than a normal A3. And it's so easy to unlock those. All you have to do is click the RS button over here, and I've set it up to go into RS Performance. What that does is it makes the steering wheel just a little bit more nimble. You get a louder exhaust system, and that pitch, that sound that's just so present with you in this cabin becomes ever more present. And the throttle response also gives in a bit more. So what happens is that if I put my foot down, the camera will start dancing. Oh, and there we go. That's the Audi RS3, and that's this car's superpower. And cars like it too, right? You definitely get such a wide range of experiences from one vehicle. But trust me, when you do decide to put your foot down, oof, it goes like nobody's business, right? And I think that's what I really appreciate about the Audi RS3. It's the kind of car that can do this regardless of the weather conditions you find yourself in. I drove the BMW M2 on a very moist and rainy day, and it was sketchy sometimes, I don't want to lie to you, but the MDM mode that I was in allowed the car to sort of manage the torque as to not get me on the side of the road. But in this, man, you just, ooh, you can just roll through the gears. And because power goes through all four wheels, you get traction immediately, and it handles, you know, the power that you throw at it relatively easily. Now, before we put this car through the ringer a little bit, there are a few things that I'm generally appreciating. I know I'm not the biggest fan of digital clusters, but what they've managed to do with this car, with its configurability and the way it just sort of presents information to you depending on the mode that you're in, is something that I really appreciate. Right? I've got it in a sportier setting, and I've got these two parallel lines running alongside one another. One, both for the rev counter actually. Then I've got the speedometer in the middle. You do get some bumps in its firmest setting, but that's expected. The adaptive suspension handles South African roads quite well in this car. But you know what? That's a small compromise to make for what is otherwise a very great vehicle. But overall, I like this car. It is a very premium feeling car. Everything is pretty straightforward, easy to use. I like that there's a nice matte finish on this infotainment screen, because usually if it's gloss, you get reflections that glare into your eye and can sort of make it a bit difficult to drive. But this is what Audi does very well. They give you cars that work, cars that don't necessarily need to be touched too much in order to put a smile on your face. But we do know that this platform is very tunable, and some South African motoring enthusiasts have done some really great things with this car. Overall, there's a lot I appreciate about this car. One, you've got a very premium feeling cabin space, no nonsense, no flair, straight to the business, does what it needs to do. Number two, I appreciate the gentle rumble of that inline 5 behind me. I think this engine makes the car, and everything else we get on top of it is just nice to have, and it really is nice to have. You have everything you need in this vehicle. I think it's a great package, but we do know that if you do want to salt up the engine a little bit and tune it up, this platform is very tunable. You will lose your warranty though, so I wouldn't recommend it. I think it's a capable car with two personalities, and that allows it to be usable as a daily driver. And there are some people who do that. But that's enough of me yapping. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it in a sportier setting, which is RS Performance. I'm going to put it in manual mode. You're gonna run out of road very often in this car. And it's a shame I have to take this car back. It really is unfortunate, because it's such a lovely place to sit in. There are a few things that stick out to me. Number one, the styling. You know, when you're spending 1.3 million rand on a purple RS3, there needs to be no debate about whether or not your car looks good. And I think that's the case with this one. It's a beautiful car, whether or not you like Audi. And in terms of its competition, no pun intended, there definitely is some speculation around whether or not the designers at those manufacturers did a good job. So I appreciate that. Listen, it's a great looking car, but it doesn't end there. Everything works the way it should. There's no nonsense, no fuss, no frills, nothing you don't need, and everything you should have in a car, plus all the stuff you would want. So it's a pretty straightforward, and I'm referring to the infotainment systems that you get between the driver cockpit and the central information display over here. Straightforward, you get what you need, easy to use, no glare, no fuss, no nonsense. I like that. Alcantara steering wheel, flat bottom. little bit dramatic, motorsport heritage, huge fan of what I'm seeing here. But at the end of the day, between the engine, the quattro system, and the exhaust that we've got here, you've got a perfect mechanical blend of something that is able to give you thrills regardless of the weather you're in, number one. Two, with the suspension system that's capable of doing that and giving you those thrills regardless of the road conditions that you've got, and ultimately makes it a better daily driver capable of taking more beatings than most. I think Audi did a great job with this car, and the next guy who's going to own this is going to be a very, very happy fellow. So I'm going to keep quiet for a second. I'm going to get it into its sportiest setting, and just going to send it.